What's up, y'all? Digibro here. It's noon. I'm tired. Been up all night playing fucking new Doom. It's like, I don't know what the fuck I'm wearing. I did this video the other day about Naruto and Bleach, and I was saying that I was going to start doing videos about shows that are popular and that people ask for my thoughts on all the time, but that I don't really have any plans to make a video about in spite of having some opinions and history with the shows. So I definitely wanted to talk about Death Note in one of these, and then someone specifically asked for my thoughts on Death Note and Code Geass, which is how I'm going to be pronouncing that. I don't know what's the most correct way, but I thought those would be both great candidates. I don't know that I'll never talk about either of these shows, but like I have thoughts on Death Note that aren't enough to make a video about, aside from the one I did about the director and his style in general. But I don't think I can't see myself ever making a whole Death Note video. I don't know about Code Geass just because it's been so long since I've watched it. But I've actually got like 8 volumes of Death Note manga buried somewhere in here. This is like a double layered collection, if you can't tell. But there's somewhere back there is a bunch of Death Note. So, my main exposure to Death Note was in 2006, because they had started publishing the manga here in the United States, and it immediately, like, took off. Like, Death Note was an international sensation from the beginning. I think it might legitimately be, like, the most popular anime and manga franchise in the mainstream, like, ever. Like as in mainstream as in not just kids, like, whereas obviously One Piece or Pokemon would be like the biggest ones, but Death Note in terms of like teenagers and adults watching it is probably the most famous anime, with Attack on Titan coming up close behind it. But yeah, in 2006 there was a girl in my Japanese class. Yes, I took Japanese classes because I'm a huge fucking weeaboo. But this girl had like a bunch of manga, and she was reading Death Note, and she was loaning it to me. So over the course of like, I don't know, 10 months, however long it was taking them to release these, I think there were probably 6 out when I started. And then she would get like new volumes and loan them to me. And I know I read up to volume 10. Or up through volume 10 rather. So pretty close to the end. And then I was also buying the volumes myself, like, just to have them and to be able to reread them. And I got up through volume 8. So I only own 8. I read 10 through her. And then I think just either she didn't buy the rest or I just stopped talking to her or something. One reason or another, I never finished the series. I never read past volume 10 of the manga. Even though I'd been pretty into it. And obviously after the... big spoiler if you somehow don't know spoilers for Death Note, but after L dies, then, it goes downhill in a pretty big way. And, like, I didn't really know anybody who like, knew Death Note. I wasn't, like, part of online communities that were talking about it as much at the time. So it was a little while before I saw how, like, everyone hated the post-L part. But, like, I don't know. I didn't think it was, like, all bad. I just thought it was kind of a weird letdown that Light became more of like a one-dimensional kind of caricature of himself in a way, and like some of the stuff that was happening was still cool and interesting, but like overall it just wasn't the same. It had lost that spark. But like, yeah, I've been pretty into it. I mean, I definitely think the concept is fucking genius, and I think the characters are like, I think Light and L are like perfect characters. Like, you can't get a better protagonist for the kind of show that Death Note is than Light, and especially that they made him like a high school student at the start, but they presented him in such a way that like high schoolers could get into Death Note, and even middle schoolers could probably get into Death Note, but like it doesn't feel high school because he's like the only real high school character for like the longest time. So it was a presentation that could appeal to adults as well, which was genius the way they handled it. Light is just so entertaining in the fact that he, is this, like, clearly evil genius, like, hand-wringing, psychotic, evil genius guy, but because he believes he's doing the right thing, and because he has a decent argument for why he's doing the right thing, then, it does make you ask those moral questions. And I think a lot of people would say that the moral questions of Death Note are incredibly basic and not that deep. But at the same time, there's nothing really deeper than that than the questions the show asks. Like not to say that like you can't ask a more complex question than like, is it wrong or right to do the things that Light does? Is it wrong to kill people for the greater good in the way that he does? But like, that is kind of like the root question. It's like the most basic, prevalent. We have to constantly be asking ourselves this philosophical question that will resonate with anyone. So for young people, it teaches them to ask that question for the first time, and it makes it seem incredibly smart. And for adults, it's always relevant. That question will never not be relevant to us. So like, in a way, it's really fucking genius how it handles its sociological and like philosophical underpinnings, all while being just a really fun, exciting, character-driven drama, suspense, mystery thriller. It's kind of perfect. Like, in terms of construction, if you were trying to make a piece of pop media, it's one of the most perfect pieces of pop media ever. It's like everything that you could possibly want, being incredibly well constructed. Like Takeshi Obata's artwork is beautiful. His character designs are very striking, very standout, appeal to all demographics. The boys are pretty enough for women to love them, but they're cool enough for men to love them, of all ages. So Death Note's like the most perfectly like zeitgeist capturing work of the mid 2000s, I think. Yeah, it just works on a lot of levels. It's fucking genius. Now, am I a big fan of it? Not really. Just because most of it is just like a fun thrill ride. Like those basic questions that you get at you can understand from the beginning. Like the basic stuff about like what's great about L, what's great about Light, what's great about the story and situation. All of that's pretty obvious. And most of the story is just having fun with the premise. Just seeing what kind of wacky scenarios you can come up with. So I'd say that like most of what's good about Death Note you can understand within the first volume of Death Note, and beyond that it's just enjoying the ride, and because it kind of falls off after L dies, then it feels pointless to finish it, because it's like you got everything you're going to get out of it by then, and there's really not much else to enjoy. But so yeah, the anime came out, and I think like it started in late 2006 and ran into 2007, and I had never, like, up until this point, even though I'd been an anime fan for like close to 5 years at this point, I'd never heard of like streaming or watching stuff fan translated. Like I just bought DVDs for like the whole early 2000s. I watched stuff on Adult Swim and Cartoon Network and Fox and all that, and then me and my cousin would go out and buy tons of anime DVDs because that was the main way to find it back then. So early 2007 was when I discovered the idea of fan subs and watching stuff online. And I remember that me and my brother Victor watched the first 12 episodes of Death Note together. I think, considering the timing of this, I probably was reading him the subtitles, because back in 2007, Victor read so slowly that I would just read out loud the subs on the shows we watched, which is like a terrible viewing experience, but we had fun with it. It didn't matter. Like, that was how we watched all of Gurren Lagann for the first time, and that was his favorite show it's still his favorite show. But yeah, so I think I was reading him the subs on the first 12 episodes, and like, I don't think he was that into it. It was a little too heady for him, and he was like, yeah, it's cool, but like, I think he was trying to act like he got it because I was excited about it, like, and he didn't want to seem like stupid for not getting it. But we just never got back to it. Like, I think there were only 12 episodes out at the time, either that or the show definitely wasn't over, and then I just never bothered watching the rest, because I knew everything that happens. I'd read most of the manga, I'd heard about the ending, so like, at this point, again, I felt like I'd gotten everything out of it that I needed to. I never really revisited it in any kind of big way, but just a year and a half ago, almost 2 years ago, I read Bakuman, which was the next manga from the creators of Death Note, and I'm a huge fan of Bakuman. It's by far my favorite manga of all time. Everything about it's perfect and great, and there's a part in there where the main characters. This is kind of a spoiler for Bakuman, but uh, later into the series, they basically, because Bakuman's about the two main characters are manga creators. Like one's a writer and one's an artist, which is obviously paralleling the people who made Bakuman, who are the artist and writer who made Death Note. And while the careers of the characters obviously are not much of a parallel for the careers of the main people, there's a part towards the end where it's pretty blatantly them doing Death Note. Like the last manga they do is pretty obviously supposed to be their Death Note, where they'd taken everything they learned throughout the series about how to make stuff like their biggest technique that they developed before this was the serious comedy, where they would present stuff that was funny because of the fact that the characters were taking the situation so seriously, but what was happening was blatantly ridiculous. And I think that Death Note, especially the manga, does this perfectly, where like a lot of the charm of Death Note is that a lot of it's really funny. A lot of it's just like, in spite of this grim, dark premise, there's a lot of moments where the characters just kind of make doofy faces or do something like funny in a way, and he keeps it exciting to read. And then the anime adaptation kind of cut that out, but replaced it with the ridiculous over-the-topness. Like that was the anime's version of the serious comedy, was to just make stuff so ridiculously like just over the top is the only word I can think of. Just to make it all like that, to the extent that it's comical, that he dramatically eats a potato chip in one scene, like breaks it off like that, The manga wasn't like that. It was more low-key and goofy, which I guess I would say I prefer, but I think both are cool. I love that the anime adaptation is like it is. I love that it's so ridiculous, because it was a great way to deliver that. But yeah, reading Bakuman gave me more appreciation for Death Note because of the fact that I realized that it was so perfectly formulated, that they made it to be the ultimate manga. Like, almost, I would almost say that it doesn't feel like a passion project at all. It feels like it is tactically constructed to be the perfect manga, and they succeeded at that. Which Bakuman like sort of shows you their work in a way. It's almost like an Enzo dance for having done Death Note. And in Bakuman, their manga is also about, like the Death Note one is also about this battle between like two people who are like in a similar circumstance, but like in the manga they're getting an anime adaptation made of it, and there's like a risk that the anime people want them to continue the manga so that they can, cross-promote it with the anime. And they're like, whoa, our story is too close to ending. Like, it's not going to make, it's going to be boring if we extend it past the end of the main rivalry. And it's obviously what happened to Death Note. Like, they clearly, at some point in writing the Death Note manga, when it got, affirmed for an anime or it was getting too popular, they had to continue it beyond the end of the main rivalry where they clearly wanted to end it. And so, Bakuman's like they got to rewrite history and make up for their artistic failure in continuing Death Note past its prime. So that was a pretty interesting thing to sort of realize while reading Bakuman. Victor later went back just recently and actually did watch all of Death Note, and he watched it dubbed because he didn't care, and he said he thought it was really entertaining because of the fact that Light's voice is so annoying that it makes you really hate him for the whole show, and that this made it even more entertaining for him somehow. Which I think is a funny opinion, but I could never sit through that dub because, god damn, most of those voices are horribly annoying. But yeah, so I guess that's all the stuff I think about Death Note in general. I'm trying to remember. I feel like there's something else I was gonna say and slipped my mind. Oh yeah, the opening and ending themes by Maximum the Hormone. So I mentioned in the last video about Bleach how there were certain things that I had made fun of when I was growing up that I later had to apologize for. And one of them was that because I had heard of Zetsubo Billy, which is the ending theme, the second ending theme. And people would bring it up all the time. And like I think I had heard like a little bit of it and it just sounded like some like generic Japanese hardcore music or something, and I was like, this is fucking lame. And if you searched Zetsubo Billy on Google at the time, it would always turn up the pictures of the visual K band that's in the music video, because the music video for Zetsubo Billy, which is fucking amazing, is like a TV going between all these channels of different like popular Japanese musical style groups. There's like the visual K band and this like pop singer and some rappers, and then they all get killed by the Death Note, and Maximum the Hormone comes out in their like nu metal look, you know. And so I always thought it was some visual K band because I had searched this and seen this thing, and then like at some point a friend of mine like just recommended me Maximum the Hormone, like unrelated to Death Note, and I got really into them. They like Buiki Kaiesu, which has both the second opening and ending of Death Note in it, is one of my favorite albums, and like both those songs are fucking awesome. What Up People and Zetsubo Billy are amazing. The music video for Zetsubo Billy is amazing. I love What Up People as the opening of Death Note because it's just so fucking insane and intense. The video is just madness. I fucking love it. One of my favorite bands. Highly recommended. Great songs. So anyways, then there was Code Geass, which I watched season 1 in 2007. There was this, because Code Geass had like this, I want to say 2 seasons in between season 1 and 2, like 2 seasons passed between them airing. So in the middle of that gap, I watched all of season 1 with my friend Don-san, who me and him had just met and started hanging out like towards the end of 2007. And we would like, I would go over to his house and we would just watch like 26 episode shows all in one sitting. So I went over there and I'm pretty sure we did that with Code Geass. We just watched the entire fucking thing all at once. And I remember thinking it was okay, but I wasn't like that into it just because I was never that, back then I was never that into like plot driven shows as much as I was into just like slice of life bullshit kind of stuff. So, I mean, I thought it was entertaining, and I really loved Callan Stadfelt, because she's fucking hot, and C2 is fucking hot. Both of them are definitely top tier on my fucking hot anime chicks list. C2 in particular. God damn. But, and Lelouch is a super fun character. You can't not love the guy. He's so fucking flamboyantly over the top and great. Jun Fukuyama and his, like, 2 different voices that he gives him is classic. He's like basically the Batman thing with the voice, but not as rough and ridiculous. But yeah, it was a really fun show. And then R2 started, and I was watching it week by week for like 8 weeks. But if you know anything about how I watch current anime, I don't. When a show is coming out week by week, I never keep up with it ever. So while R2 was airing, like, I just kind of fell off the wagon and didn't end up watching the rest. And, like, at the time, people were still really into it. But, like, not long after I stopped watching, it became, like, this weird epic train wreck style thing. Like, I don't know how I feel about it because I haven't seen it. But, like, what I was witnessing was everyone treating the show like it was the biggest train wreck of all time. And every week there'd be this, like, huge amount of reactions. Every blog would have a post about it. 4chan would have a million threads about it. It was like a sight to behold to see people reacting to Code Geass R2. And I distinctly remember this beautiful moment I got to have because I was on A when the last episode was airing. And I was just reading, like, live, like, in the threads, these, like, the whole board was just ignited. Like, every thread was a Code Geass R2 ending thread. People going fucking ape shit about this ending. Because apparently it was a great ending from most people that I've heard. Well, I guess it depends on who you ask, but, like, Yeah, it was crazy. It was a lot of fun to just be there in that moment and to get to witness this like this moment in history. I don't know if people know this as much now that like Code Geass was like the biggest deal in anime at the time that it was airing, like among like the online fandom, you know. Cuz like I want to say that Death Note, because it was like I don't know if Death Note was as big with like the anime fan subbing crowd. Like I don't know if it was big with that crowd. I wasn't really that big a part of it at the time, but like I never got the impression that that group was as into Death Note. It was more in like the mainstream people, and it really took off there. Whereas like Code Geass, like only later became like a show absolutely everyone knew. Uh, but it was big in the fan subbing community the way that a show like Cabaneri is now, or like Erased was last season, where like everyone was watching it. But yeah, I haven't seen any of it since then. Like I've never rewatched the first season. I've never seen past episode 8 of season 2. I obviously know what happens in the end because of being in those A threads. But yeah, I've always wanted to rewatch it, and I've had friends tell me that like it a lot of it doesn't hold up very well because season 1 had so much of the dumb high school hijinks and shit and those weird like cutaway moments. It reminds me a lot of My Hime, which was kind of the Code Geass of its time about 2 years earlier, where it's like has this serious story that's really dramatic and has its moments, but it's also like a stupid ass high school action comedy thing, you know. So I don't know how I'd feel today if I watched it, but I am interested in doing so. I can't see myself ever making like a video about it, like any kind of analytical video or anything, like maybe about some aspect of it, but I don't know. It seems unlikely. I mean, I don't do a lot of like full on critical review type videos anyways, but I don't if there was anything for me to write a video about in Code Geass, I don't know what it is, and I don't plan to like rewatch it anytime soon. It is not a high priority. There's a lot of other shows that I really need to rewatch at some point in the nearer future. Oh, bonus round, Future Diary, just because it's on camera and someone pointed that out. I've only read the first 2 volumes. Victor was collecting them, and he lost interest after 4. He gave me all of his collection. Like a lot of this is Victor's crap, actually. I want to say Future Diary. Oh, never mind. I thought that was something else, but I was looking at the wrong thing. The Full Metal Alchemists were his too. But yeah, he just like gave me his collection at some point. So it's mixed in with mine, and yeah, I remember that I really liked Volume 1 when I first read it because I loved the art style of it, but then I just kind of lost interest once I noticed where the story was going, that it was just kind of this like hyper violent and edgy thing. And then the anime came out, and like I remember the first episode came out and I watched it like right after it aired, and I just thought it looked like complete shit. Like the animation sucked. The art style didn't transfer well at all from the manga. So I just didn't watch it. And nothing I've heard about it has made me want to watch it at all or read it. So anyway, yeah, that's that, I guess. Peace.